Hello, today I'm going to show you how to integrate Leostream with VMware vSphere hypervisors. This is something that we've been doing since the beginning of Leostream, and it is something that a lot of our customers do. They use VMware vSphere as the hosting platform and Leostream to manage VDI on that. The great thing about using Leostream in those environments is it allows you to actually integrate with additional platforms as well. So you can build a hybrid cloud environment all managed by Leostream and all with a single portal for end users to access their resources. So to show you how this works, let me share my screen. So here what you're looking at is the web interface for the Leostream connection broker. I'm going to log in as the main admin. Now I'm going to focus specifically on integrating with VMware. I'm not going to step through a full demo here. So the integration points are done here in setup. In the setup section is basically where you'll integrate with all the different systems in your environment. We're going to skip right down to centers. A center in Leostream is any third-party system that we use their APIs for to integrate with. So here we're going to talk about integrating with VMware. We do support different versions. So I have two here, one for vCenter 6.7 and one for vCenter Server 7. Now in this case, if I look, for example, here, I'm actually communicating directly with vCenter, and then vCenter manages my vSphere hosts. If you want to actually talk directly to vSphere instead of using vCenter, if maybe you're not licensed for vCenter, that works as well. What you would do is you would create individual centers for each individual host. Now, the one thing you can't do in Leostream if you talk directly to the host instead of directly to vCenter is some of the provisioning functionality. The SDKs that we use to implement provisioning in VMware are actually SDKs that go to vCenter. So creating, whether it's vCenter or a specific ESX host, quite straightforward. Give us the host name or IP of the host, and then credentials for a user who can log in and execute the different APIs that we need to execute. If you are talking specifically to vCenter server, you can limit the VMs that we inventory out to a particular data center. So this gives you some filtering. If you have a very large VMware environment, you can just grab out a particular data center that you want to use for VDI. Just to kind of give you an overview of these other options, these are generic for all the different hosting platforms, whether they be cloud or virtualization that we support. You'll see these same options here. The scan interval, this essentially tells Leostream how often do we reach out to that platform and look for changes. Did a power state change that we missed? Did you provision a new VM inside vCenter and we haven't picked it up yet? Did you delete something? Those types of changes will be picked up when an inventory scan goes by. I'm just going to leave mine to manual for right now. Typically, if you're not doing a lot of changes, you can leave this to manual. If you are making a lot of changes, you're in POC environment, maybe you'll want to scan more often. Offer desktops from the center. This gives you a way to disable offers from the center if, for example, you need to perform some maintenance on an ESX host, so you want to make sure users aren't logging in and getting offered machines from the center. Instead of having to delete the center here in Leostream, you can just check this box off, and now Leostream won't offer the machines from there. So it's essentially maintenance mode for the center. The next one, assign rogue. This one's kind of neat. So the idea here is once you've inventoried your virtual machines out of the center, out of VMware in this case, typically what you want people to do is log into a Leostream client and be assigned to a machine via a Leostream pool or policy or maybe a hard assignment, but managed by Leostream. While in some environments, you can't stop the user from launching the display protocol client, like at the RDP client, and just connecting to a machine. Our Leostream agent will pick up that user login and report it to the broker as a rogue user. And so what you can say is, if I have users who go rogue, they're not logging into Leostream, well, assign them anyway, because Leostream knows about the login, and then you can assign them a policy, which then allows you to continue to manage the user's session. So things like deleting the machine when they log out or power cycling it, for example. Initialize newly desktops as unavailable. This gives you a way to say, well, you know, I'm going to inventory this data center in VMware, but actually not all of the machines in that data center are going to be managed. They're not part of my VDI environment. Maybe you have servers in there as well, whatever you have. So you can come in and say, inventory the center, but mark everything as unavailable at first. And then you can go and just mark the desktops that you ultimately want to assign to users as available. And that way you won't be offering out your email servers or whatever else you happen to have hosted in VMware. Two last options here. Initialize newly discovered desktops as deletable. If you're using Leostream to manage a non-persistent workflow and you've already provisioned some machines in your center, you'll want to mark them as deletable. And then as we provision new machines, as things appear in the center, this gives Leostream permission to delete them, which you can do using our release plans. We make you mark things specifically as deletable so that Leostream isn't accidentally deleting your email servers or whatever else you happen to have. But if the entire environment is a non-persistent environment, you can mark them all as deletable that way. And then the last option I'll show you here is continuously apply auto tags. Tags are in Leostream are just user-defined, and the user being you, attributes that you can assign to the desktop. These are not the same as the tags that are in VMware. These are Leostream tags that you can assign to machines and then use that for pooling, for example. So here you notice I have a VMware 6.7. I also have a VMware Center, VMware Server 7 center here. This particular VMware vCenter server is managing a number of different hosts. Now, an interesting thing when you have multiple hosts on here, a lot of our customers have VMware vSphere hosts that have the GPUs enabled, and they have maybe a GPU that provides or supports 4 running VMs at any point in time, and then you've used up all your GPU. Well, you can actually set that number here in Leostream. You can set what's the max number of machines that are allowed to be powered on a particular host, essentially before you run out of GPU. The nice thing about that is actually then when you offer machines out to users, you offer them stop machines, before Leostream powers it on, we'll check against the threshold of powered on machines on that host and make sure we migrate the machine to a different host if its current host is already at its maximum number of running. So there's my VMware Center. As you notice in this environment, I'm actually managing a hybrid cloud. So I have an Amazon server or an Amazon Web Services center here as well. I could come in at Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, whatever you want to manage all from here. So the centers handles the inventory. Once we create that center, that populates the pages in the resources area. So here I see all the desktops that are, in this case, in my GPU-enabled VMs pool. But let me switch this over to my VMs. So here are all my VMs. In this case, I can see that they're the VMs that are hosted in vCenter Server 7. I can get more information about operating system, power state. I can even do things like come in here and control power the machine on if I want. This gives you a way to manage your virtual machines in VMware alongside all the other virtual machines in the other hosting platform without having to log into the individual management tools for those platforms. Images then get inventoried here, and these are the templates that you have defined inside of your VMware environment. And these templates can be used to provision full clones of virtual machines in VMware. You can also use snapshots to provision linked clones. We don't list all your snapshots on this page, but I'll show you in a second where you see those. Actually, I'll show you right now. So let's talk about provisioning in VMware. All provisioning in Leostream is done via our pools. So if I look here in pools, I've created a top-level pool here, which is everything in our VMware environments. So it's the machines in the 2 VMware centers. And then I've created some nested pools. The fact that you can nest pools is actually very unique to Leostream. So here I've created just my VMs. I happen to start with my initials. So here I'm saying it's a subset of everything in VMware because I don't want to pull my VMs from different platforms right now. And I'm just going to create the pool based on the attribute here, which is the name beginning with my initials. Then down here, I'm going to set up provisioning. So I tick on provisioning, and then I tell the broker what conditions cause it to start provisioning. It's always based on thresholds, how many machines are available for users to use. Here I'm saying when there's fewer than 16 available machines, please provision. You notice here in the pool information, I picked 16 because I happen to have 16 now. So it'll provision, if I change this to 17, it'll provision off a machine as soon as I save this form. The way it provisions is defined here in the provisioning parameters. So I'm provisioning it into vCenter Server 7. And then here you see the different options that you can select, very similar to the different options in the wizard you step through when provisioning in VMware. I set the virtual machine name, being very careful to start the name with the text that's used for the desktop attributes created in this pool. The sequence number here, this is used to replace this, what we call a dynamic tag. Basically all caps between curly braces will automatically increment this number. So every machine name that you see in VMware gets a unique name there. And then here's where you can say, do we provision a linked clone or a full clone from a template? Now we will provision a linked clone, and that's great. Obviously they take up less storage. We don't do any of the re-imaging based on the master for the clones. So just if you want to do a non-persistent machine in Leostream, whether it's a link clone or a full clone, you do need to fully delete it from disk using Leostream and then re-provision. So just be aware of this. This does give you the great storage optimization though. So once I've selected a link clone, then I can select the snapshot. You see all the different snapshots we have in that list and indicate which folder it should go in, resource pool, whole 9 yards. And then I'm going to actually say, well, as I provision machines off here, mark them as deletable. So let's go ahead and save this. And now here is my VMware 7 environment. So here you see the clone being taken of that machine, and you'll see it appear here in the folder that I asked it to be provisioned inside of Leostream. Now, we do always provision our machines and power them on. We won't provision a machine in a stopped state. So that's just something to be aware if you're using Leostream to pre-populate a pool. Say you just want to have 10 machines up in the cloud. You can use Leostream to provision those 10 all at once, but then you'll want to go into the desktops page and use that control option to power them down so they're not just running on you. And that's really the key to the VMware integration. Beyond that, everything that is provided in Leostream, our different protocols that we support, all the different release plans, power control plans, everything works with VMware, just like it does with every single platform that we provide. If you are using VMware right now, you're using Horizon, maybe you want to give Leostream a go, you can just drop us an email. And there it is, at sales@leostream.com. Thank you very much.